Now one more thing which I want to talk about is the namespace prefix. So once these package installation is done into the system, you will see many new objects, and for the existing object, the standard objects, some new fields will get created under them. Why? Because we have installed the packages. Now to understand which field comes from which package, this namespace will help. So for example, you will see some of the components with this namespace prefix aptus underscore qp config. That means it is coming from code configuration integration package. Okay, some components you will see mentioned just aptus as the package, aptus as a namespace. So that means it is coming from CLM package. Also sometimes we feel we are only working on CPQ, why do we need CLM package? So there are some overlaps, right? Some common components are there, and for those common components you should have this package in you, because those components, they are in common with both CPQ as well as CLM. So you just have this installed. You do not need a new CLM, you do not need any CLM license for it. You can have that component in your system so that you can run your CPQ flow smooth. Okay, now here we will see some components with aptus underscore config to namespace and so on. Also for aptus underscore proposal, aptus underscore approval. So these all you will see. So namespace you need not to remember, but it simply gives you an idea like from which package the component has come into your system. Now since the package installation is completed, we need to do some setup. So for that, what you need to do is you need to go to config settings. Go to config settings. Now this config settings, it is basically what you see right now. Once it loads, you will find this as a page. It's a VF page, and here there are certain links to the settings. Okay, these are all the custom settings, and these custom settings we must set up before we start creating any cart. Now before I talk about flow settings, display column settings and all, I just want to give you a brief idea like how this code proposal thing is going to work. So see, what we are going to do is we will create some codes and proposals, right? Now based on the various record types or the business units. So here we need to discuss what are flow settings, column settings, action settings, system properties, and catalog page setting, bundle page settings. Okay, now before we talk about all these settings, it is important to understand what is flow. Okay, so when you create a quote or proposal, next you want is to configure your cart, and we will see there is a button called configure products, which you click, and once you click on this configure products cart, what happens is flow starts. Now it depends on you which flow you want to start. What does that mean? It means that you can have number of flows in your system. So I can have a flow for business unit US, I can have another flow for business India. Okay, why two flows? Why do I need to set up different flows? Because maybe the business which you have in US, they want a different user experience, different UI experience. For cart configuration, you do not want to show them the same page which you are showing in India. Products might be same, but the UI things are different. The pages which you are referring might not be same. Okay, and that is why you need different flows. So flow starts when you click on configure products button on the code proposal. We will see that. And on click of this button, you can decide which flow to start, whether I should start with the flow US or I should start with the flow India. Okay, that settings or that custom configuration can be done. Now that configuration is achievable. The next question is, what does flow contains? We are saying that UI experience would be different, but what does flow contains? The flow contains your cart pages, flow contains your catalog pages, flow contains what do you see inside the cart pages, like what buttons will you see here, what actions you will see here. That all will come under flows. So basically, when I say flow US, it is a kind of a container, and within this container you will have different pages which will render at different steps. So for cart page, if you want to show cart page 1, if you want to show cart page US here, then that can be configured from this side. For Flow India, if you want to show cart page India here, then that can be configured from this side. Okay, so let me just open one cart, how it actually looks like, what happens when you click on configure product, how it actually looks like. Let me just show it to you so that you can relate it easily. So I'll see if I can find one cart. So within this documentation from CONGA, I see one cart here, and in this cart you can see that there are different actions available, right? These are different actions. Now how do I configure these actions? These actions can be configured from this setting, display action settings. Then you see there are different columns available, right? From where do I configure these columns? It can be configured from this display column settings. All right, and so this is what we are going to do now. So let us go back to this config settings, and the first and the foremost thing is to set up a flow setting. So without a flow, you won't be able to proceed ahead with column settings and all. Why? Because let's say when I go to column settings, it will ask me for which flow you want to do the column settings. Do you want to do it for US flow or you want to do it for India flow? If I do not have that flow setup ready, I won't be able to proceed, right? See here we are doing configuration for cart line item. You can do configurations for different other like cost line item, installed product, and so on. But the second thing which you will see here is to select the flow. So if I want to do the configuration for cart line item in the US flow, then I should select the US flow first. If I want to do it for India cart line item, then I should select that flow. So let's go back to the flow settings and see if we do have, and let us see if we have any flow by default. So by default there are no flows available. We will create one new flow. So let us work on our flow. So I'll create one default flow. Okay, and when we look at the documentation from CONGA, it has talked about some default pages which are available. Okay, and we will set up the same for our default flow. Okay, so for asset page we will be setting up this one. This is the supported value. For cart page also we will be setting up this one, and catalog page we will set this, option page also we will set this, and for product attribute detail page again we will be setting up this. So this is based on the documentation we have, the recent documentation we have for CONGA CPQ. Okay, so I have done that, and let me show it to you right now. Here you can see that I have given it a default name, and I have set the asset page, cart page, catalog page, okay, this two, they are different. Okay, wait, let me just do it right away based on our documentation. I'll just make it cart for the remaining as well. Okay, and then just save it. And when you save, you have to run the maintenance job. So either you can run the maintenance job right away or you can run it a little later. But at the end of the day, you have to run it. Now why I can run it later? Because I have more changes to perform. I have some changes to perform in the display column settings. I have some changes to perform in the display action settings. So I have one option that I do all those changes and then run one maintenance job. Because what is going to happen after running the maintenance job? Basically CONGA will put all this at one place, at one object from where it can easily refer when you open the page, when you open the cart page, or when you really work on the CONGA flows. It can without any delay it can read all that and pull all that information and show up to you on the UI. Okay, so it will try to keep it stored at some place when you run the maintenance job, so that at later point of time it is easy to pull the information from there and show it to you when you work on it. Okay, already we know that the CONGA flows, they are quite slow. Okay, mostly if you have worked on the CONGA packages, you would have seen that it takes time to load the catalog page.
when you click on configure product button, we will see it later, but it takes a little time to load up. So all that performance improvement, there is a design change done by CONGA where they are running the maintenance job and placing everything at the temporary object. From temporary object or custom settings, they are pulling up the data at the runtime and show it up to the customer so that the performance can be improved. So let's run the maintenance job right now. I could have run it a little later also. We will run it a little later as well. So when you do it, it will just ask you for which flow do you want to run. I would like to run it for our flow, default flow. Then just click on update, and that's it. Now I'll go back, and here if I want to modify anything further, I can just click on this actions. Okay, and here I can modify the pages. These all are nothing but the VF pages which are designed by CONGA. If you want to override it, you can override it. Okay, and then if you want to delete this entire flow, then you can just click on this delete option here. This entire flow would get removed. In general, in our projects there are multiple flows. We have already discussed US flow, India flow, or maybe based on other parameters you could have different flow, one flow for your business unit 1, another flow for your business unit 2, because they might follow a different pattern of selling their products. Okay, and that's why you might have different flows for them, because you want to show a different page to each of them. These are the default pages which we are setting up. You want to change it, you can change it, but that is something where you have to be very careful. So flows, they are and based on the flows you decide whether, like, other settings are also configured based on the flows, right? Like on which flow you want to keep what kind of cart line item pages, what buttons you want to show up in the display action. So all that is configured under the flow umbrella. So flow is important. All right, so let's save this and we will run the maintenance job a little later. Cancel.
Now let us talk about the display column settings. So column settings, if you see, now columns are nothing but basically your fields. I'll just show if that tab. Now when we talk about column settings, columns are nothing but fields. So like this product is the column, then quantity of the product, net price, base price, option price, these all are the columns, right? And the page which you are looking at, it is the cart line item page. Here you see all the line items basically the products, right? So here you see all the products, their price. So this is a cart line item page. So I'm showing it from the CONGA documentation, but that's how it appears, right? So to configure it, you have to go to config settings and click on display column settings. Now here you have to select for which page you want to do the changes, whether you want to do it for cart line item or you want to do it for some other page. If I talk about cart line item page, then the second thing you have to select is the flow. So I have selected the default flow. I just created the default flow and that is what I have selected right here. Then the sequence, in which sequence you want the fields to appear or the columns to appear, like product, charge type, base price, option price, quantity, right? See, product, then quantity, then net price, and base price, and option price. So in which sequence do you want it to appear? And if there is any column which you do not want to keep, let's say you want to take off this column, then just click on this minus sign and that column will get removed. For example, if you want to add a new column, click on this plus sign. Okay, it will give you one more row, and here you can add your field and that will become another column. Anytime you want to go back to the default setting, you can just click on load default settings. It will override any existing one, and if you want to proceed, just click on yes. Okay, any sequence you want to change, let's say I want to move the quantity right after the product. Okay, so I can just click on this button, arrow button, it will shift it, and that's it, and then you save. Now when you click on save, again it will ask you to run the maintenance job, and you can do it later as well, so we will do it later. Then come to the display action settings. For display action settings, this is to set up the buttons. What buttons do you want for your cart line item page? So it shows like for cart line item, there are already few buttons added, as in add more products, install products, back to pricing, reprice. So here you can see add more products, install products, finalize, and when you click on this drop down, other buttons will also show up. So all that can be configured from here. If you want to select some other page, let's say you want to go for catalog page, then that can also be configured from here. So right now I'm not making any modification, I'm just keeping it as it is, and then click on save. Again it will ask you to run the maintenance, we will do it later, and then come to the system properties. So this is the page which opens up when you click on system properties, and here there are number of fields to fill in, and for each field there is some help text available. You can check what that field, what you can check the purpose of that field on click of it. Now from CONGA there is a documentation on this particular config system properties, where they have talked about each of the field, what it does. So we need to configure some of the important fields here. So for example, for view cart page, if I want to understand what does view cart page is for, I can just search for it, and it says that here you have to type the Visualforce page name for default cart page. Now default cart page which we want to keep is aptus underscore config 2 underscore underscore cart. Okay, and same way I have to give a default, same way I have to fill up product attribute detail page, and it is again in the same namespace aptus config 2 underscore underscore product attribute detail 3. Okay, and then some price setting. For example, I want to enable auto reprice, then I can check this. Then here you can enable matrix pricing for, here you can enable matrix pricing for options. You can also enable keyed matrix pricing, how many maximum adjustment you want to provide. So by default it is 1. You can give multiple adjustment on top of the list price. Okay, and then there are many other fields. Now we will talk about these fields when required. You need not to go in detail for what field does what. Already there is documentation here which talks about each of the field, what it does, right? So we have just populated these two fields, and I have enabled auto reprice, I have enabled matrix pricing, I have enabled matrix pricing. So we will see it, the purpose of these fields when we will talk about matrix pricing, but for now you need not to go into detail. So this is the one field which you need to populate, then this is the second field which you must populate, and then another important field is this. I have just populated the precision settings. So for currency I'm using precision till 2 decimal places, same for quantity, percentage and term. Okay, so you can keep it 2 for now. So what basically CONGA will do, it will round off the decimal places to whatever you set over here. And one important field which needs to be set up is the instance URL. This is the field. Now this is the URL of your Salesforce instance. So what you need to do is just copy the instance and keep it here. If you don't do it, your CONGA will not run. If you don't do it, your CONGA flow will not work. And the second thing is to set up the pricing profile. Then so right now by default it is basic, we need to set it to advanced. Now what is the difference? In basic you can only go with a standalone product, but here we are going to create all type of products, right? Bundle product, standalone products. So let's set it to advanced and then save it. And again, maintenance job we will run later. Now let us talk about catalog page settings. So catalog page settings, there is nothing much to do, but you should open this and click on save. For the first time you must do this. Okay, so basically how does catalog looks like, I'll just show it to you. So catalog page is basically the search page. So here you will have a kind of a search bar, Okay, you enter the name of the products and then you click on the search button. This is the search button and it will show up all the products over here. Okay, so I know everything is blur here, but it's fine. And I just wanted to show you how the catalog page looks like. So no need to modify anything over here for now. In the catalog page, just click on save and then go to the bundle page settings. And in bundle page settings as well, we will not modify anything, and just click on save, and then go to install product settings. Install product settings, basically this is the page which show up what products are already purchased, what products are already purchased by the customer. Okay, so here also we will not make any modification for now. Just click on save and then run the maintenance. So now I click on this run maintenance. There are different ways in which you can do the maintenance run. So what is this maintenance run? Basically it will run the jobs in the back end. So it will ask you for which flow do you want to run the maintenance. So if you want to run it for all the flows, then just select all. If you want to run it only for the default flow, then select default. Now whatever configurations we have done is for the default, so you can just run it for default. Or if let's say for the first time I select all and just click on the update. Now it here highlights that use the command to activate any new changes to CPQ custom settings. CONGA CPQ use the custom setting value from these static resources, which needs to be updated after any custom setting values for CPQ are modified. So if you modify any custom setting value for CPQ, which we have done just now, we need to run this job so that CONGA can update its resource from where it fetches the value in the runtime. Okay, so here you can see that the job has been completed. I go back to the config settings. Okay, so this is done.